Hey everyone, Erin from the Impatient Gardener, and today I'm planting this thing. So on this channel sometimes I offer tips based on my own experience growing certain plants, and sometimes it's more of a let's learn together situation. And I would say that since I'm very new to water gardening, I've only had my little stock tank pond in the vegetable garden for, this is my third year now. I'm pretty much a novice at water gardening, so I think it's safe to say that at least for the next couple of years, anytime you see me do a video on something related to water gardening, I think it's safe to assume that those are a let's learn together moment, because I am definitely still finding my way on the whole water gardening thing. This is a lotus, and this year I'm planting 2 of these. In fact, I've already planted the one that's going to go in the stock tank pond in the vegetable garden, and I'll show you that one in a second. But I'm also going to grow one right here in this pot. This is a small one, and I'm going to grow it right here on the patio this year because why? Well, I don't know. When I was shopping for lotuses in January, I couldn't decide on one, so I bought 2. So here we are planting a lotus on the patio. So everything I'm telling you today is just based on my research, not on any practical experience, because this is the first time I've ever grown lotus. So we're going to figure this out together. This is what was sent to me. I will put a link to where I ordered from. I'm also not experienced enough at this point to be able to recommend stores for water plants. So, because I'm still trying a few out. I've had good experiences and bad experiences. So I'm still trying to figure that out, but I will put a link to where I bought my lotuses from this year. All I know, for the most part, I have the general concept of how to plant this, but these little points right here are the growing tips. Let me get a little closer there. Those are the growing tips, and if you break those off, you probably kill your root, tuber, plants, whatever this thing is. You can kill that. So you have to be very, very careful that you don't break those little tips off. Now I'm going to be planting in this pot. Basically, the best thing to use in a pot for a water aquatic plant medium is clay soil. Now I want you to cue your tiny violins because it is very hard for me to find clay soil here. I know it's a trying time for all of us. No, I know that absolutely makes you guys roll, some of you roll your eyes, but I do have a couple of spots where I have more clay soil. You can buy aquatic planting medium. It is so expensive, especially if you have to ship it, and I haven't found any stores around here who sell it. So I'm gonna do the best I can. I picked up I dug up some of the most clayish soil I can find, and we're gonna use that to plant this in. So I've done my best with the clay soil, and I tried to pull out as much of the organic matter in it that I can. You can definitely not use like your traditional potting soil type of thing with this. That is a recipe for disaster. It'll just float away. So now we add in some water to make sort of a slurry. I should add, this is a pot. I just bought this off of Amazon. It was also sold at Home Depot and a bunch of other places. But it does not have a hole in it. Obviously, it's key to have a pot that holds water for this. Okay, now the next step is to sort of nestle this in here. And they said sometimes you can put it on the edge of the pot and bend it around. So I'm just going to set it on there. And you can kind of just gently cover it. Carefully, again. I definitely overwatered here, but. So this is an aquatic planting media that I did buy last year. It's way too expensive to pot. I think you can pot directly into this. It is way too expensive for me to do that, but a nice layer of this at the top I find does help keep the soil from, or the dirt, whatever you're using, from sort of mucking up your water. So that's what I've been doing, is just sort of using this as a top dress. If you were a child of a certain era and you saw something that looked like that laying in the hallway of your grade school, somebody was having a bad day. And then as leaves start developing, I will add some aquatic plant fertilizer to this, which are just like little tablets that you stick in the soil. And I will add some water to this, but I just want to get this growing a little bit. Eventually this will want to be covered by probably 8 inches of water, but for now that's not necessary. Okay, so that's good for now. So that does not look like much at this point, but hopefully it will be beautiful. So lotus care involves just making sure that there's enough water in the pots, full sun, and then fertilizer tabs. I think it's about once a month. Once you start seeing some growth, you don't need to fertilize until you start seeing some leaves developing. And now this one is going to, like I said, live here. I'm going to show you the one that's going to go into the stock tank pond in the vegetable garden. I have started it just on the patio for now because I actually don't have the pond filled up yet. And I'm a little worried that the water in there would be too cool for it at this point. So it'll be nice and warm here on the patio. So let me show you that one. Well, it's not much to look at right now. It turns out that everything related to water plants is very expensive, including water plant pots, which are just plain plastic tubs with no holes in them. And so rather than spend a lot of money to get one of those, I just used a nursery pot that I had around. I have a large collection of these, and I sealed up the holes with silicone and then some 5200, and it more or less has worked. We have a slow leak, as you can tell from the patio. Once this gets into the pond, stock tank pond, that should not be a problem. Now I just topped this off with water, so it is pretty murky, although it gets crystal clear once it settles. So we do actually have the first leaf starting right here, which is pretty exciting. This one should get quite big. The other one will be obviously smaller. That's why it's in a smaller pot. So before you ask the question, the number one thing people always ask me about anytime I talk about aquatic plants is how do you deal with mosquitoes? Honestly, it hasn't been a big issue for me. In the stock tank pond the past 2 years, I have used cheap solar-powered fountains that provide enough water movement to keep the mosquitoes from laying their eggs there. I have also in the past, on occasion, used mosquito dunks, which are these little cakes that have BT in them. And I will use just a chunk of those for a small pot. It's not a huge thing. I have never used goldfish before or feeder fish before. I am debating actually doing that in the stock tank pond this year. We'll see. My concern with that is always what do I do with them at the end of the season because I don't need more pets. So I will deal with that at some point this year, but basically I will just tell you that there are methods to control this so that it doesn't become a problem. And it's not been an issue for me, and it's certainly nothing that would keep me from growing water plants because I think it's really fun. Okay, so that is a new plant for me this year, 2 lotuses. Come in here. We will see how they go and how they grow. If you guys have tips about lotuses, please leave them in the comments, especially when it comes to water plants. I am all ears. I always want to hear any tips people have about managing that. And so hopefully we have flowers soon, later. I don't know. Even the leaves are pretty, so I'll be happy even with that. And that's what's happening here. It's all happening soon, you guys. All right. Hope you're having a great day in your garden, and we'll see you soon.